All right. So you have written a story. You got some words on a page. Could be a screenplay, could be a script, could be a novel, short story, whatever it is. You've got words on a page. First draft, second draft, maybe, and you want to improve it. You want some feedback. So here is an exercise, a pragmatic, utilitarian exercise that we can do to take the words that we've written, the manuscripts that we have, our first draft, and make them into a draft that is accomplishing our goals a little more so, that is more closely aligned with our intent as authors or screenwriters, that we want to do a little bit better at telling our story. So, how do we get our words, how do we adjust our words to get closer to our intent? Um, well, first, we're going to break this down. Instead of taking the whole story all at once, we're going to take one scene at a time. We're going to take one scene, and we can take a chunk of a scene. Maybe it's, in your story, you've got a character named Hamlet, and he's holding a skull of poor Yorick, and he's about to lament and soliloquize. You take that scene in its entirety, but nothing else. Just take that block. And we write down, we read that scene, we write down a list of characters in it. In this scene, there's Don Corleone, and there's the merchant, and he's going to ask for help with whatever, and or Michael Corleone is resisting his, the draw towards his family, whatever. We write down our characters, and then we're going to write down what happened in the scene, what transpired, what the characters feel, and what they what that scene means. Okay. Now, not every scene might fit with these questions in the same sort of way. Some scenes might not have a lot of change in how the characters feel, and not all the characters might change the way they feel throughout a scene. But a character might go into a scene feeling, that they sold their vintage car, and they started off sad and they ended up regretful, remorseful. But another character in the scene might have been ambivalent about the car, and so they started off the scene ambivalent and they ended up the scene ambivalent. Right? Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where the car, the Ferrari goes crashing out of the back of the glass garage and lands. Cameron at the beginning is frightened. He's in shock, right? He is angry at his friend for putting him up to all of this. And at the end of the scene, he has resigned himself to his fate. He's accepted it. He's grown a little bit, and he has made a resolution about how he's going to move forward. It's a great scene, right? So we're going to write down all of those things. Who's in the scene, what they're feeling, what happened in the scene, and what the scene means, right? What happened, what they feel, what the scene means. Now that we have our synopsis, what we wanted the scene to mean, what we think the scene means, what we think the characters feel, what we think happened, we've written in the most succinct, smallest, simplest sentences. Cameron was sad. Cameron was resigned, right? Just straightforward terms. We take our scene and we print out a copy, or we copy and paste into a new document, so it's just that block, it's just that scene. And we give it to our poor friends and family who tolerate us so much, and we will pester them endlessly by asking for feedback. But we're going to try and make it easy on them. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to give the scene and say, Bob, we've been friends for a really long time. Can I ask a favor of you? I need just 10, 15 minutes of your time. I would like you to read this scene. I've been writing this screenplay called Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I've been writing this movie. It's called The Godfather. I think it's going to be great, right? I want you to read this scene and tell me what the characters feel, what the scene means, what happened in the scene. Any of those three things. Tell me those. Do not ask your friend Bob, was it good? Do not ask your friend Bob, did you like it? Do not ask your friend Bob, what would you change? Don't ask those questions. The answers to those questions are not the answers, do not have the value you think they are, and they're not the answers you think they are, right? Because there are friends and family, so there's a lot of baggage tied up with those answers. We're going to ask what the characters felt, we're going to ask what the scene meant, and we're going to ask what happened in the scene. And invite your friends and family, your significant other, your mom, your buddies, whoever you're asking, invite them to make their answer as easy and conversational as possible. Say, when you're done reading this, just go ahead and take your phone and give me a voice text. Just tell me, 30 seconds. Just say, what happened in that scene? That's all. Tell me what the characters felt. Just make it super simple and easy for your friends to answer. If it's easy for them to type an email, that's okay too. But just say, give me a voice text that says, like, what do you think happened in that scene? What do you think the characters felt? And then when your buddy Bob gives you his feedback and he says, I think that character was irritated. I think that character was angry. I think that character was disappointed. Your response to Bob when he says that is, thank you for your feedback. That was very helpful. That's it. That's your answer. That's your response when Bob gives you feedback. Don't tell Bob what you thought the scene was. Don't argue with him about how he got it wrong. Don't try and say, well, you read that as disappointed. I was trying to write him as being melancholy and morose. Why disappointed? Bob is an unbiased reviewer who's never seen this before, and he is just like the readers. If this script goes out or this novel goes out, all you have is the words on the page. You don't get to sit with the reader and go, I know that you might think that this person is irritated right now, but I was trying to write him as being remorseful. Let me tell you why. You don't get to explain it. You only get the words on the page. You're only looking for feedback on the words on the page. So just when they give feedback, say, thank you very much for the feedback. That was very helpful. Right? Your impulse oftentimes will be, but I was trying to do it like this. Don't you see it as this way a little bit too? You kind of want to justify that your writing was good also. And then you can take his feedback or her feedback and compare it to your written expectation, your analysis of the scene, what you thought you were writing. And giving it to one person isn't the end all be all, right? That's not how everyone will read the scene. And there will be a variety of ways that people read it, but they'll be different than the way that you expect your scene to be. Because we have hidden knowledge in our head. We have the imagination that created these scenes. So we know these characters in a different way than our readers and audiences will know them. And what we really want is to understand how the words we put on the page are interpreted by our readers or viewers. And those interpretations are real and true, even if they're different than our expectations. So if Bob's interpretation of the words on the page differ from yours, that's okay. Thank you very much, Bob, for your feedback. That's what I was looking for, is your interpretation of the words on the page, telling me what those characters felt, what happened in that scene, and what that scene meant. And those questions will be more or less relevant depending on the character of the story and the character of the scene. But that's a mechanistic activity that you can use to see if what you're writing and what you think you're conveying aligns with what other people are reading and their interpretations of what's on the page. So what you put on the page and what someone reads off of the page are oftentimes not exactly the same thing. That's what we're looking for, is to see how closely aligned an unbiased reader is with their interpretation to what your intent is. And you can choose to adapt and move your writing closer or farther from one point or another as you see fit. So if you try this and it works for you, let me know. I would love to hear your feedback on this. If you want to talk about your interpretations of scenes or famous scenes from books and movies that are ambiguous or famously differed in the way that the original author, intended them from the way that they strike our eye or hit our ear, those are fantastic. Let's have a conversation about this. Put those ideas in the comments, because the more we drive this conversation forward, the better all of our writing will be. Thank you guys very much.